fellow investors, welcome to Nordic Finance, where we help you realize your financial goals.
So if that's something you find interesting, please invest in the subscribe button and deposit a like on the video. My name is Marcus.
And I'm Lucas. And today we have a really special video for you. I really like to thank Marcus for all the work he's put into this, because he's done a lot of research, so I hope you get a lot of value out of it.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk about taxes on foreign dividends and specifically explain for people who live in Finland, because this works differently in every country, and this is specifically going to focus on how it works in Finland. And you might say that this is very specific, but people have been asking for this, so
yeah,
here you go.
Yeah, a lot of people have been asking in the comment section. I think this is these kinds of tax videos are the most requested we have at the moment. So we decided for to make two videos about dividends, both foreign and national, and dive into how you file these types of taxes. And then in the future we will do other ones as we do get more time and more knowledge. So we will make more tax videos in the future, but for now we're focusing on dividends.
Before we get into the video of today, let us know in the comments down below, what do you prefer, dividend stocks or growth stock? Let me just summarize today's video for you real quick. First, we're going to have a brief explanation on how dividends are taxed. Then we're gonna have a little bit of advice for you on what to do before filing your taxes on dividends. We're also gonna show you on OmaVero, which is the Finnish tax bureau's official website. So we're actually gonna show you how you fill that in. So in Finland, you actually pay capital gains tax on dividends. How this is set up is that if your dividends during a year reaches a total sum of 30,000 euros or less, you're gonna have to pay 30% of that in tax. However, if the total sum of your dividends reaches above 30,000 euros, so 30,001 euro, you're gonna get taxed 34% of it. However, there's one additional piece of information that you probably want to be aware of. 15% of dividends are actually considered to be completely tax-free. So you're not going to have to pay any taxes on 15% of it.
The way you can think about it without actually adding all the numbers and stuff like that is that out of the 31,000 euros you had earned during the year, 15% of this will be tax-free. So it will not be included in any kind of tax decision, and 85% of it you will have to pay the 30% tax. But this is not something you need to focus too much about, because when you actually file your taxes, you're not going to need this information. You're going to just enter more basic data, and the tax OmaVero Vero is actually going to do this for you. So you don't need to know what 15% of your this dividend is or anything like that. I don't even think that you need to focus on how much your total dividends is. That even if it goes above 30,000, as long as you file it correctly, Vero should actually take care of this. But it's really good to know, so that you know how they make their decisions and what you should be aware of, for instance, when choosing to invest into dividends, so that you know how it is taxed.
Okay, so what do we actually recommend, Marcus, now?
Okay, so first I recommend that you can open the Excel file that I had provided. The first thing we need to say here when thinking about taxes, especially dividend taxes, is you need to keep some sort of log, I would say. You need to at least have some details that you keep throughout the year and update. For instance, an Excel table or something like that, so that you know how many dividends that you have had come in this year. Otherwise, for instance, you won't know if you have reached over 30,000, for instance. And this is especially important when dealing with foreign companies and foreign dividends. Because as you can see here in the table I have provided to Lucas, this is actually the table I use to keep track of my dividends for 2020. And I know we only started investing in 2020, but I think that this system is pretty good. I'm not saying it's the best, but I think it works. So what you see here is you have the company name there, you have the date that the dividend was paid, you have the dividend that the company paid. Then you have what tax, in this case the Giro, took when they paid out the dividend. This is important because even when you are investing into foreign companies, the dividend that you're going to receive is taxed at source. So what that means is that it's first taxed in the country where the dividend was, so to speak, produced. So for instance, we have some American companies here. So it's first taxed in America, and the Giro, for instance, deducts this from my dividend, and that is the tax which the Giro took that you can see there. This I can then later use to lower my taxes in Finland, but we will get more into that later. What you need to know is that you need to have your full dividend amount, so the total dividend, and then also the tax that, for instance, the Giro or whatever broker you use took. And then I also keep the netto in there just to keep track of how much did I actually get out of the dividend minus the tax.
Okay, so these are what you want to keep track of then, the total dividend and the total tax.
You wanted to keep track of that, but you also want to keep track for each separate company, because you're going to have to file it separately. So one filing for Heinz, we see there, one filing for Foot Locker, one for Carrier, and so on. But I think you can combine companies, so I don't need to file several for Heinz, even though you see several there. I only need to file one, but you need to file for each separate company. Here I have separated all my different companies in currency. You could also do it by country, but in my case it made more sense to divide it by currency, because we have dollars, we have euros, and we even, if you scroll a little bit more, you will see that we even have Swedish crowns. And it's really important to keep track of each of the currencies, because you're eventually going to have to convert everything into euros, because otherwise you won't be able to file it. But we will also get more into that when we are doing the filing, and we will tell you which exchange rate to use, because it's provided by Vero. So the final thing I want to say about this Excel file here, right here, is all this data that you're seeing, the company name, the date, the pre-tax dividend, the actual tax, any potential taxes that you paid, any fees that related to getting this dividend, and finally the netto. You want to keep all of this data throughout the year and update it in, for instance, an Excel file like this, because this you will need this when you are doing the filing in, for instance, in December or January.
And for anyone who's freaking out right now, like I first was, this information is available at the brokers, right, as well, but it's just a bit harder to get then.
Yeah, actually I got it from my broker as well, and you can get it in, you don't need to get it like the day the dividend is paid. You can go, for instance, the Giro have a good feature called Tiliote, which means that you can look through all the transactions that had happened on your account, and you can just search for dividends. And then it will find all instances of dividends. You can just copy the company name, the date, the dividend, all the information is right there. But I will say one last thing before we move on to how to actually file. You want to file your taxes in December or January. If you file them in, for instance, February of the next year, then you might suffer some kind of late fee or something like that. We're not going to get into detail what that actually means. All I'm saying is that if you want to file, for instance, your taxes for 2020, sadly you should have done so in December or February. But keep this in mind for next year, for instance. We did not sadly do this because, like we said, we are also beginners, so we're learning as we go. But the ideal situation is that you file them in December or January when you know your total dividends, but we haven't yet gotten to the next tax year, which starts in February. Actually, not January, because you need a month there to actually file your taxes. All right, now we're ready to file. We have our data and everything. So now Lucas is in OmaVero. This is his account, and we'll try to guide him through this.
This is what you're going to see when you log into your own OmaVero. Just like real simple. You use your, for example, bank ID to get in here.
When you see this screen, the first thing you should do is you should look under the activities in the right side there. And then you see tax returns and tax information. By the way, as you can see in the top corner there, oh yeah, it's still visible. You can also change the language to Finnish, Swedish, or English if you want to, but we're going to keep it in English as we are an English channel. They actually provide us with English. Did you run Nordnet? But yeah,
take note.
Yeah, and then you can select the year you want to file your taxes for. In our case, 2020. And then you can pick the prepayment and additional prepayment. However, you can actually file your tax dividends beforehand. For instance, if you know what kind of dividends you will get throughout the year, but this is really difficult to know. I mean, companies can choose, for instance, to not pay out dividends. But if you somehow know what kind of dividends you will get throughout the year, you can actually keep them in your tax declaration, and Vero will automatically assume that you are getting the same dividends this year. But now we're going to show you how you do a filing or a prepayment so that it will be included in your tax declaration. So he just clicked, and then report corrected income and deductions, because you now want to change it because you have new information. Okay, I'm just going to add here also that you can actually do this in April when the actual tax declaration is coming, but I would strongly suggest that you do this beforehand. It's less stressful, and as well you will avoid more of the late fee that we spoke about earlier. But you can do it in April if you want to, but I would not recommend it. So when you see this screen, you can see this is your tax declaration. I think a lot of people will actually be familiar with this site. But the only thing we care about in this video is the third section where it says other income. Yep, right there. Okay, so now that we are here, you can scroll down. Here you can see all of the kinds of income you could have gotten throughout the year, like pensions and benefits and study grants and what have you. We are not concerned about that in this video. Instead, we want to go to the capital income, which you are right now getting to. Then we can see dividend income, but this is actually not the one we want for this video. We're going to make a separate one. You use this one when you have national companies paying out a domestic dividend. For instance, if you are in Finland and Kone or Nokia or Wärtsilä or what have you pay out a dividend, then you would use this section right here, because this is a normal dividend and they're treated a little bit different. In this video, we're not going to focus about that. It is the focus of another video, so we're going to go even a little bit further down.
So since we are now doing foreign dividends, we're going to go further down to foreign income.
So you're going to want to press that you do have foreign income. Okay, and then you get up this screen, foreign earnings income in 2020. First, it suggests that if you had some kind of income, this is related to salary and pensions. We don't care about that in this video. Instead, we go further down, and then foreign capital income 2020. Now we're getting to the juice of it. Here, this is what you're gonna wanna file. So you see here that you can file dividend, rental, loss from rental, a lot of stuff. But you want to press the open specification. So there you go. And now we have some different choices here. You see transfer, rental income, and dividend income. As we are, the focus of this video is dividend income. We're going to select this. And now we are filing a foreign dividend income. So here, first, you need to file which country the dividend was received from. And this is based on which company where the company that paid you the dividend, for instance, I don't know, Apple or Microsoft. If this company paid you a dividend, you need to find the US.
USA!
You can
USA!
Yeah. You can also just type USA in the field, but you know. Okay, so there you can see the amount of dividend income. And here you will actually put the pre-tax total dividends you received from, for instance, Microsoft this year. Yeah, and he put something ridiculous. Anyways, then we also have the expenses for production of income. Which I would assume could be transaction fees, for instance. I wouldn't mess around with that too much, though, because generally you're not going to have a lot of expenses for just carrying stock. Then you have the tax paid abroad. And this is, again, the important part that we kept in the Excel file. So first we had the amount of the dividend income, and now we also have the tax. And what I also should say is, here we come to the part where you have to convert everything into euros. So even though Microsoft paid you in dollars, so you received dollars to your account, you're gonna have to recalculate this into euros. And and the way you do this is scroll a little bit up. So the way you convert everything into, for euros, because we live in Finland, you need to use the average exchange rate published by the European Central Bank. This sounds really complicated, but it's actually not. All you need to do is press the read more. There's a link there that takes you to tax.fi. It's only in Finnish and Swedish though. That's a bit sad. But here, if you scroll down,
What a classic!
Yeah. If you scroll down, here you can see what the average exchange rate for US dollars for 2020 was, according to the European whatever it was. These are the exchange rate that you have to use anyway. So if you have a sum in US dollars, for instance, you have to convert it by this exchange rate to euros. There's probably a lot of ways to convert it, but this is the kurssi you need to use. And you cannot use any by yourself. You have to use this one.
Okay, so say that I have like $10. I take $10 divided by this, right, to get the amount.
Yes,
in euros.
Correct. And it's not harder than that. Then you enter whatever you got into the amount of dividend income in euros. And then you do the same for the tax, because that tax will also be reported in dollars. You also need to convert that to euros using the same method we just discussed. The last thing, when you have filed everything, you have entered all the amounts, is that you have to specify which type of company is distributing the dividends. So either you have a listed company and a non-listed company. You are all pretty much always going to pick the listed company, like Microsoft, because it's a public company. So the non-listed company would be a private firm. Once you have filled all this, all you actually need to do is press OK. So now that he entered the details, all the details, and pressed OK, you can now see that we have a payer's name, Microsoft. We have the country which it comes from, USA, and the amount of the dividends. Apparently it doesn't show the tax, but like we said before in the beginning of the videos, now Vero is going to use that information, for instance, the 15% non-taxable and the 85% taxable, and the 30% up till 30,000. Now the Vero is going to use that to calculate our tax. So like we said, you didn't actually need to remember all this stuff when filing your taxes. Now, once you have filled your first company, all you need to do is do the exact same thing again if you have more dividends. So you could now add a new dividend income, for instance, Apple, and then fill it out exactly the way we just did with Microsoft. And then you add them just one by one until you have added all your companies that have paid you a dividend using this method.
Now you just, in Marcus' case, rinse and repeat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more times.
Yeah, exactly.
So have a fun time.
Okay, so now when you hit OK, you can see that it says total foreign income 1 there. So it has actually changed. And if you go up here, you can now see under capital income, you can see that it's changed to amount of income 1. If it does say something like this, then you have probably done it right. We're not going to continue from here because then Lucas would actually have to submit this declaration and we don't want to do that. But all you would do at this point, once you have filled out all your companies, is that you go through the rest of the declaration and fill out any other things you want to do at the same time, and then you submit it. And it's really easy. You just press next until they give you like a summary of everything you have filled in, and then you press submit.
So I press next.
And that's really all you need to do. Once you've done that, it is up to Vero. You have done your part then. So you have filed your taxes, and now Vero will get back to you on how you did, so to speak. And if there's anything else they would like to do.
So this is going to be the final page. Here it just says, again, like the information that you filled in so that you can review it, and then finally you can click
submit it.
which
And then,
I'm not gonna
yeah.
do.
But yeah, that's how you do it.
Okay, but that's a look at how to do your taxes when it comes to dividend investing in Finland. And before we end today's episode, let's just take a quick summary of what we covered today. So first of all, we covered the percentage of taxes. You're going to pay 30% in tax if your dividends net you 30,000 euros annually or less. Yeah, so it's going to be classified as capital gains tax, and capital gains tax as usual works so that if you earn 30,000 euros or less in a year, you're going to be taxed at a percentage of 30, and more than 30,000 euros in a year, it's going to be taxed at 34%. So 30 and 34. Yep. And then we talked about that actually 15% is always tax-free completely. So out of the total dividends, 15% is not going to get taxed at all, and the other 85% is going to get taxed according to the rates that we talked about previously. Then we showed you how to fill it in. We showed you the entire shabam on the Vero website.
Yeah, how to actually file it, and also through the Excel file, a few things you should bear in mind before filing your taxes.
Yeah, one of the most important things being that you should keep track on your dividends throughout the year, because otherwise it's going to be a giant pain in the ass.
Yeah, when you're actually going to file it.
To do.
Especially when it comes to foreign companies, because you really want to have the name of the company, the date, the currency and nationality of the company, which you hopefully are aware of, how much the pre-tax dividend you received was, and what the tax you have already paid, for instance, through your broker, so that you can then later deduct it when you are paying your tax, filing your taxes.
But that's it for today's episode. I know it was quite a chunky one. Hopefully you got a ton of value from it, and you can use this as a stepping board to help with paying your own taxes.
Yeah.
And if you got some value out of it, please let me remind you to invest in the like button again and deposit a subscribe. We really appreciate it. And with that, I think all that's left for me to do is wish you guys happy investing.
Happy investing and tax paying.